Hey, what's up guys, another video here. So today I want to talk about the steps after attaining wealth. So after you hit your financial end goal, what you want to do is set up the assets where they can produce you income. Okay, so there are two main ways. So you can either invest in funds that produce you dividends, okay? So those can be awarded monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually. Or you can invest in things like real estate where they produce you regular rental income. But the downside of that is you have to rely on renters, and you may have periods of unoccupancy or where you have kind of lapses in this income. So for me personally, or from what I would advise, again, not financial advice, but I would recommend having the route of the income producing assets such as stocks or index funds. Okay, and from that standpoint, you can select funds where they produce a good amount of dividends. So let me give you examples. So one stock that has reliably given a good dividend is AT&T. Okay, so they are one of the largest, or the largest telecom provider, at least in the United States. So this asset, or the stock, currently produces approximately 50 cents of dividend per quarter per share. So that's pretty considerable. So you amass a certain number of shares and then you'll get this quarterly dividend, and that can really fund your lifestyle. So likewise, that is a good option. So that currently, with the current market price, yields about 6% of annual return. Okay, so that beats inflation. So that's good. But likewise, you can invest in a municipal bond, which can produce you around 3 to 4% dividend rate of return. But there are municipal bonds where you have triple free taxation, so you don't have any federal, state, or local tax attached to that. However, if you invest in a fund where the yield is much greater than 3 to 4%, then it's advisable for you to do that, because the tax will offset that amount, because the dividend tax rate is considerably low at 15%, at least in the United States. So your end goal number should actually have an amount that's greater than the asset producing income. So let me explain. So let's say your end goal, or the amount of income that you want to produce, $10,000 per month. Okay, so let's say you have $2 million and you have a fund that's returning 6% dividends per year. So let's say, so that per million is going to produce you $60,000. So 60,000 times 2, 120,000. 120,000 divided by 12 is 10,000 a month. Okay, so there's two things that you want to do. Okay, so you set your budget and you invest the remainder of the budget where you don't spend. Because if you're spending $10,000 a month, that is a considerable budget, especially for a single person. So you most likely don't want to be expending that full amount. So you want to set your budget where you're not actually maximizing the amount that you're spending per month. However, it's advisable for you to set a final end goal number that's greater than this 2 million net. So let's say you have a set or end goal number of $3 million. This $1 million that you're not using to produce income or dividend income, you want to be placing this in the market, because generally you want to beat the rate of inflation. So again, I'm just going to use the hypothetical figure of the inflation at 3% per year. So you do not want to have this money sitting in cash. You want to put it in the market. So historically, the market will give you around 8 to 10% on average. So this money that you have outside of the asset base that you are producing the regular income with, you want to place that in the market, so you're going to continually beat inflation. So your money will be continually growing. So a certain portion of the money will be continually growing while you are producing the dividend income from your 2 million of assets. So again, it's ideal that you have a pot of money or assets that are growing in value while you have the base of your assets producing the income, which again, you are not expending the total budget per month, and then in that way you can continually stay retired, because you don't want to be in a situation where you are continually drawing on the principal amount. So let's say your withdrawal rate is greater than the dividend rate / rate of return, you're going to be continually eating into the money, and that's going to dwindle. And again, it depends how long you live. Again, people are living longer and longer these days, so it's really advisable that you have funds that are continually growing in value and that you don't expend the entire budget that your dividend allows per month. So just in recap, the steps after wealth is you want to place your assets that will produce you a very good, healthy amount of return per month. For example, dividends or cash if you do it through real estate. And then you want to have a separate pot of money or pot of assets aside where those assets are growing in value. Okay? And if you are nearing the end of your life, or let's say you have children, so sorry, this is number 3, is you probably want to set up a trust where you have kind of conditions where your children have to meet in order to get money from the trust. Okay, so in that way you can avoid certain types of taxation, or you can avoid taxation in certain ways by setting up a trust, and where you can provide for your future offspring a certain type of monthly income or whatnot while preserving the assets in the trust. Okay, and trusts usually have some kind of asset management fee, so you want to factor that into consideration. Also, you have to factor in inflation. So the amount of money in the trust you probably want to be placing in the market where you are continually battling the asset management fee, the trust management fee, and also inflation. So that trust in perpetuity can be producing income for future generations. And again, that's another consideration that you have to follow. But again, that doesn't really apply unless you have a huge fortune or multi-millions of dollars where it should be placed in a trust. But again, that is step number 3. So again, number 1, you want to have assets that produce regular income for you in the terms of cash or dividends. Number 2, you want to have a separate portion of your assets aside that continually grows with the market. And number 3 is if you have multi-millions of dollars, and especially if you have offspring or genetic descendants, you want to place this money in a trust where it can produce income in perpetuity and also grow in perpetuity according to the market. So that's it, guys, and stay tuned for the next video.